So Monique, I want to start with, you just got back from a 2-week safari, which many people have on their bucket list. It's on mine. But hearing you talk about it for just a moment was like, oh, maybe I should move it up on the bucket list. So
Yeah.
What would you say about that? What was the experience like?
It was a life-changing experience. It honestly was. I mean, yes, being 10 feet from elephants and zebras and rhinoceros and hippos was an incredible experience to see what Mother Nature has created. It was the most amazing experience to be next to those animals. But I'll tell you, the thing that stands out for me is the people. The people in Africa. They are the happiest people I've ever met. And they have very little, they want very little. They don't care about TikTok or Instagram. They love each other, they're brothers and sisters, and
Oh, yeah.
they are some of the happiest, joyous, lovingest people I think I've ever met in my life. And
Wow.
I think we should all aspire to be like that.
Let's stay there for a moment because really, one of my pet peeves is just how social media is such a blessing and a curse. And I think more and more a curse in that almost every message is you're not good enough.
Yeah,
You need to buy this, or you need to look this way, or you need to do this, or it's never good enough.
it's
And
never good enough.
very little of it is fun stuff. I love the ones that are the happier stories or the quick little takes, or of course, and I love dogs. So you give me a good dog one. But
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. But that whole concept of how can people get there? We're so busy with work. How do you get there where you can be happy? And I want to talk about how you disconnect from work in a moment, but
Sure.
how can you get where you have that happiness amidst all this messaging
Sure.
that says we're not good enough?
Sure. For me, speaking from my experience, we have to remember that this is real life. This is not real life. What happens in there, we want to show people that we're real. We want to show people what we're doing. We want to tell people what's happening. But what really matters is what's really going on in the really real world. That is not the really real world.
Yeah.
So coming back to the fact that we need to be the best people that we can be here on with our feet on the ground. We don't have to be the best people that we can be on a device. This
Yeah.
is what,
And the other part of it that I'm curious on your take is it's not only the social media stuff, which we just took a jab at, but it's also all the stuff, the activities. I mean, some people just get so busy and they never stop to think, hey, if the old Mack truck theory, Mack truck hits me tomorrow, is this really how I wanted to spend this week, this month, the last 5 years?
yes.
And
You know,
relationships, right?
again, this is real life. When I worked with Simon for a million years,
It just
we
felt that way.
yeah, it just felt that way. We really believed that working equaled freedom. In fact, when we had our spreadsheets for how much money we were making, it was called the freedom spreadsheet, because that's what working does. It allows you to have the freedom to go on vacation, to buy the thing, to do the thing. But what's really important is to go on the vacation, to buy the work part isn't the thing that's going to change our worlds. I mean, it could, depending on the industry that you're working for. But what are you doing with that? How are you expressing that in the really real world to everyone else? So, and I think taking time off is one of the most important things that you can do. Getting back to what do I like to do? Who do I want to communicate with? What is happening in the sky and looking up at the stars? As you mentioned, I was just on a 2-week safari. I didn't open my email once. I didn't look at social media once. And it was amazing to just get back into feeling who I was and being who I was and not having to separate myself into work life Monique and real Monique. I was just Monique, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah. And it strikes me that too many of us, whether we're an employee or a head person leader, or like you and I, where we're consulting, we we don't discipline ourselves to just kind of let our clients know, hey, unless the building's burning down, I don't want to hear from you for 2 weeks. It's nothing personal. And in your case, you had a great excuse. It's like, hey, I'm in Africa. It's like, you can't even reach me if you want to. So
Right.
call this person instead.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, yes, work is important, but I've always said, unless you actually are a brain surgeon or a heart surgeon, most things can wait. It's not all life or death. And we have to understand that not everything is life or death. And we've become in this habit of sitting in meetings when you're at work and you've got your device and you're looking at your email and you're on Slack and you're in the meeting and you're doing the thing. It's like the email can wait 20 minutes until you're done. Be in the meeting, listen to what is happening, pick up on nonverbal clues of what's going on in the room, hear what the inflection of people's tones are, be there.
Yeah.
An email can wait. Your Slack can wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I still like it where some people, you don't see it very often in the corporate environment, but my kids have to do it in school. That when you come into the meeting, everybody's cell phone goes into a bucket and it's turned off. There's no vibrating phones. There's no alarms going on. It's turned off in the bucket or in the bin, whatever it might be. But
absolutely,
what you just brought up is so powerful because when you're in that meeting, you get so much more out of it and you give more value to others because you're fully present.
Yes, because you're there.
Yeah.
Paying attention.
I remember back in 2004, I think, 2005. I was part of a team and we were bought out by another company, another startup, and the VP of product development, I think she was a VP. I went into one meeting with her and there were like 6 of us or 8 of us in the meeting. And she was hammering away at her laptop the whole time, doing emails, whatever it was. And towards the end of the meeting, she tried to say something and it was totally off task.
Yeah.
It had no value.
Yeah.
And sadly, she was fired, 2-3 months later. And it was just, just working hard, but not working smart.
Yep. I mean, we have to admit that when we're on a device that tells everyone in the room that we're not the most important thing happening at that moment, that the people who are surrounding you in that meeting are not the most important thing, that the topic we're talking about in this meeting is not the most important thing. Whatever's happening on my device is more important than you. That's just what it says. Let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. So, I've seen that in people in meetings and they're going away and doing the thing and then they chime in. You're like, are you kidding me, lady? Like, just leave. Like, we don't need this happening in here. And the same thing, on a personal side, one of my soapboxes, there should be no phones at dinners. There should be no phones when you're having lunch with your family. There should be no phones. Putting it upside down does not work. It's not the same thing. Put it away. I don't want to see it.
You and my wife will get along really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like that. David, you cannot have your phone. So yeah. So I've learned. So that's great. So, but I want to go back just to close out this particular segment on the power of you disconnecting for 2 weeks. And not only what it was like there, but what it was like when you came back.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about this.
I had better eyes. I had a fresh perspective on what I really needed to be doing. A lot of times when we're in the work and have our head down for so long, we're just banging out what needs to be banged out, and we're not really paying attention to the larger issues happening or the larger direction that we're trying to go into. I had a lot of time to think about who I wanted to be and what direction I wanted to go into. And it refocused me. It refocused me to work on the things that are really going to make a difference for me, for my company, for the people that I serve. It got me in that direction. And having rest, like resting and self-care, it's not hokey. It's real. Our bodies need a rest. Our brains need time to process information. We need sleep. We need to eat. We're not machines yet. we're actual real humans still. So, having that disconnect allowed my human self to rebuild and to recuperate and to sleep and to look at the stars and wake up with the sunrise. And, you can't help but feel like a better person.
So, well, I want to close that segment with this, that with that thought as a challenge to our audience. It's like, you've heard what this did for Monique. Whether you take 2 weeks, and I would think 2 weeks is a minimum, but whether you take 2 weeks or whatever amount of time, what can you do to disconnect? I'm not talking about vacation where you still have your phone, you bring your laptop. I'm talking about disconnect and really think about, are you living the life you want to live? Are you achieving the true meaningful things you want to achieve?
Yeah.
Or are you just working hard or just busy?
Right.
So can
And
we stop there?
It doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be huge.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be life-changing. It can be, I'm not going to look at my phone for the first half an hour when I open my eyes when I wake up. You don't have to check your email the second your eyes open and put that blue light into your brain capacity. It could be something as simple as that. It could be, I'm going to turn off my phone at night and not hear the beeps and buzzes. It could be, I'm going to have dinner with my family without the disruption of talking about work. It can be little things, but they mean a lot.
Yeah, and I think those are good pieces, good pieces to the puzzle. But I also want to challenge the leaders about taking this retreat, this experience, this escape, and see what that does for you.
Absolutely.
Why
Try it.
not?
Why not?
Yeah, do it while you're healthy.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't regret it.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay. Well, thanks. Monique, welcome back. You are the queen of executive assistants. You've been the best. You coach the best. You hire the best. You teach executives how to manage them. But I'm curious, what are the biggest mistakes that are made by people who want an executive assistant and then they're going to put together a job description about the role, or what we would call an employee strategic plan, or an SP, like a success plan for the individual? What do you see as the biggest mistakes people should be aware of?
Sure. So I see a lot of job descriptions being pulled from 1981, and then they slap a new salary on it and throw it out for the world to see. And it's not the description of the human person you want in this job. I think what is forgotten a lot about the world of an executive assistant is this person is supporting you. This person is going to be with you a lot. This person is going to know everything about your life. They're going to know your bank account number and when you're fighting with your wife. So you need to like them as a human being. You need to like their personality. This isn't just about skill. Skills can be taught. Yes, you need someone who knows how to calendar. Yes, you need someone who knows how to book travel. Basic. We've got that. But who do you want to fill this role? Who do you want to be around every day of your life? Who do you want managing your calendar? What is the human being? So I think the biggest mistake I see people make is not concentrating on the human.
Interesting, because I was just writing something in the past week about how we are encouraging clients to define the standard for the role, which is kind of a job description at JD or the SP, the way we do it. But I also talked about how you define the quality standard. Now, we use our assessments as a good piece of that, but it's not the only piece. But this quality standard, I think too many people hire and don't focus on quality. They're like, yeah, I think the person will work out. They'll be okay. But they don't really like have a firm boundary. You got to meet this quality standard. You got to be a superstar in this. And you really do. If you're busy, you need a superstar as your executive assistant.
Absolutely.
You don't need someone who's average or might be okay.
Absolutely. And they forget that it's not just about the skill that someone has to do the job. If you need a human to run your life, manage your time, tell you where you should be and where you shouldn't be, get you out of the things that you're not doing, that you don't need to be doing, say that. Don't say, I need someone to help with my calendar. Because as an executive assistant, when I'm reading that job description, it's like, yeah, I can do calendar. But what does that mean? If you need a human that takes charge of your calendar, say that. Because if I'm an introvert, if I'm quiet, I may not be the take charge kind of a person. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're not the person that I need. If you need to be, if you need someone who can act as your proxy at the office, and when you're not there, you need a strong individual who has no problem talking with executives. You need someone who believes in themselves and has self-confidence. Ask for that. Not, you'll be working with our board of directors. I don't know what that means. Give me more than just the item you need them to do. Tell them why. Why do you need this human? What are they going to do for you? Because that's when people
Awesome.
raise their hands and say, I want to do that.
I like it. All right, Monique, we're back. So in the world of executive assistants, but in the world of everyone, how you promote an opportunity is so critical. And I'm sure it's made you nauseated, but you've seen certain ads about for an executive assistant that almost made you fall asleep, even though there are only 3 sentences. So what is the key way for someone to post an opportunity versus, I like to put it that way instead of promote a job, that is an executive assistant that's going to attract, that's going to attract top talent, somebody who's a superstar, because that's who you want as your wingman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, not to sound like a broken record, it has a lot to do with your job, the job description. If you spend 3 minutes on your job description and throw it up on there, you're going to get a whole host of people who are going to apply, and you're going to have to sort through 450 resumes in order to find someone who's good. When I write my job descriptions to find executive assistants for executives, my job descriptions tend to be 3 pages long. And they are very specific about who I want this person to be and what I need them to do, because I want people to self-select. I want someone to read my job description and go, hell yeah, or hell no. And then they're going to apply or not apply for that. The second recommendation I would give is, superstars know other superstars. They tend to know other superstars. So if you, in your community of executives that you network with, that you are with, if you know some executive who has a great assistant and they are exactly who you want them to be, talk to that person and say, do you have another you? Do you know another you? Or can you share this on your social media? Because again, superstars tend to know other superstars. Instead of just throwing it up, talk to people who you know.
That's an interesting thing that a lot of us don't think about and has been in my face a lot over the past year, not about me, but about some people I'm working with,
Yes.
that you attract people who are at your level.
Yes.
We just naturally do. I mean, and it's not just interests, but it's also quality. Choose a sport like basketball, which I don't play, but I never was any good. But if you're going to go out and play pickup basketball, you want to play with people at your level.
Yeah.
If they're too advanced, it's not going to be any fun. And if
Yep.
they're not at your level, it's not going to be any fun. So
Absolutely.
Same type of thing. I am also curious though, because you are a specialist in the why people do things. So in the ad, how much do you want to push the why?
Oh, you definitely want to push the why, and that should be up front. Why are you a company? Why do you need some help? Why should you be a part of something special? That's going to draw people in more than any skill could ever. If you want to be a part of something special, I want you to tell me why this is a part of something special. And that's what people want these days.
Yeah. And what about the flip side? Why is this good for you? Because if they're a superstar, they're probably comfortable where they are.
Absolutely.
Why should you join our team versus what can you accomplish here? Yes, you got the what can you accomplish or why that you can't now, but also why is this good for you? So connecting those dots.
Absolutely. And what is unique about your perspective on the world, your job function, what you're going to do, what makes this unique? What am I going to be a part of? Explain that. Explain what you want, where this person can go and how they can contribute. Because again, that's what we want in this world. We want to contribute and be a part of something special.
Monique, we're back again. We're talking executive assistants, but really anybody when we're hiring. So one of the thoughts is, how can I fast forward the getting to know the candidate piece? So if I do hire them, I'm really hitting the ground running.
Okay. Especially for an executive assistant or administrative professional. But again, as you said, for all people, you want to communicate, you want to get to know them, you want to figure out who they are. At the end of the day, who someone is makes a lot more difference in my life than what they can do. So communicate, take them to lunch and don't talk about work, see who they are, see what their interests are. The biggest thing for me is values connection. If you're not connected on a value level, this is going to be very hard to work with someone every single day of your life for the next 6 years of your life. So make sure that you're connected on values. Ask them what they value. Ask them, what means a lot to them in their lives. The other thing I would say, I'm a huge fan of personality tests. I'm a huge fan of Myers-Briggs, Clifton Strengths, all the different tests that are out there. And I think they give a really big insight to who someone is if you concentrate when you're taking the test and if you believe in it. But oftentimes with my executives and their assistants, I'll have them each take the Clifton Strengths. And then we compare their two strengths and their weaknesses and say, here's where this person is really going to do a great job. And here's where this person is going to do a great job. This is where you can lean on each other. This is where you might need a little bit of help. And it's kind of a cheat sheet and it's a great instruction manual. We had everyone when we worked with Simon's team to take the Clifton Strengths, and then we passed around all of our tests to everyone else. So it helped me knowing going into a meeting with my sales guy that his number one strength was futuristic, because then I can go into the meeting with him and talk about things in a future tense so that he can hear me better, so that he can understand me better, as opposed to talking about how we did things 10 years in the past. He's going to be lost 5 seconds into that conversation. So it helped me relate. It helped me communicate, helped me know who to lean on, who not to lean on.
Yeah, we do the same thing with our Manage2Win talent assessments. What I like is that we do behaviors, we do driving forces, so what's motivating them, and then we also assess 25 soft skills.
Love.
And then we not only share, but we'll put them all on a board and put them side by side to help people not only understand themselves best and play to their strengths, not just focus on the weaknesses, but also, like you said, understand how to play nice with somebody else. You adjusted to that future thinking person.
Yes.
You didn't make them adjust to you. Let me go back to this, hit the ground running though, too.
Sure.
We also really like to do, and I think you also do this, is that I want to pose typical scenarios and see how they respond.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this might happen. This might, how are you going to respond to that? You do that type of thing, or actually give them real work.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me give you, I have one client in New York. They don't hire a tech unless they hire him as a contractor first for a day. And they have the guy do real work. And typically it is a guy, sometimes it's a woman. And so they see how they interact with team members, how they follow process, they teach them things, and then they do it. So have you done that also when you're evaluating executive assistants?
Absolutely. I rarely do the thing where they get hired for a day, even though a lot of executives want me to do that, because you need more than a day to figure out how you can be someone's executive assistant. But I definitely do real life scenarios, especially when I have their strengths sitting right in front of me. And I could say, look, it looks like your executive might react this way when this situation happens. How are you going to react to that? What are you going to say about that? Or, it helps to know that your executive is an introvert and, he's a lovely human being. He just doesn't overly share. Well, that gives me a lot of information to know that if you're not saying something to me, it's not because you're upset with me. It's because you're just not an overshare. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, putting them in real life situations and talking about the real things that go on is so important.
Yeah. So basically what we're talking about is you're removing assumptions.
Yes.
Yeah. You're going to confirm, let's get it on the table. Let's even talk if there's anything that looks like it might be a tough thing. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
And let's just get it so we're on the same page. There's no surprises.
No surprises. I am a very big fan of being real, especially at the beginning. Be vulnerable. I know it's scary for executives to hear this, but as I like to say, talk about the poop. Talk about the poop. What's the poop? Where you might fail? What does happen in the really real world of this company? Because again, you're going to self-select this person out if they make a face, when you talk about the poop, you want someone who hears the poop and goes, I love this. I could totally help. I want to solve that problem. So yeah, get in there. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to talk about the stuff.
And the stuff includes, so by the way, you're going to be my executive assistant, but you're going to be interacting with these other people. And here's what you should know about these other people. Can you deal with that?
Can you deal with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the typical scenarios, again, here's what happened. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, totally agree. Sounds great. Great way to remove assumptions, get everybody on the same page. And then you also, I would add one more thing. Do you find that it's tough for your executives at times? They're really anxious to fill the role, and somebody's hitting on 6 out of 8 cylinders. And they're like, yeah, oh yeah, it'll be good. I can probably deal with this other part. You have to sometimes take out a 2x4 and hit them across the forehead and say, hey, whoa, time out.
Yes. Again, skills can be taught. Let's be honest with that. Skills can be taught. If you're only matching, I need someone who knows how to do calendar, do expenses, and book my travel, and they say calendar, expenses, and book travel. Great, that's my person. But they don't have the same values as you. They don't communicate in the same way that you do. They don't believe in what you believe. This is big stuff. This is just not going to work out. And I also highly encourage anyone hiring somebody else, listen to your gut. If that little person inside your gut is going, I don't really like that about her, but I'll get over it. No, you won't. Because if it's saying that in the beginning, it's like, that's when you're on your first date. Think about it like your first date. If you're going on your first date with someone and you have a funny feeling in your belly that says this is not the right person for you, do you go on 10 more dates? Probably not. So what would happen? You need to feel comfortable in here as well as in here.
Yeah, it's funny. We talk about the gut, listen to your gut. And I've seen some studies recently. They say the heart actually acts like a second brain.
Mm-hmm.
It makes some decisions, and that would upset your gut. But
100%.
Okay, so I think those are great tips. So that's great. Let's everybody hear this. Don't avoid the difficult stuff. Really work through it. And so you can hit the ground running with the right person. Welcome back, Monique. The question we got now is, so I just had somebody in a role and they failed. And I'm realizing I can't do this again. I made a mistake. You've talked previously about getting the right person in there who is the right quality standard, not just meeting the needs of the role. But for whatever reason, this person failed. What are some key things I can do now to make certain I get a superstar this next time? And by superstar, I mean someone who not only meets the needs of the role, but they're also going to be the quality person I want. And the result of that is they're going to achieve my minimum expectations, but ideally they're going to exceed all of them.
Sure. So some of you may not like the answer that I'm going to give, but find out what part you had to play in the hiring of this person. Yes, that happened. That's in the past. It's over. It's done. This person did what they did and they got fired. It's over. What did you do to allow that to happen? And be honest, did you not write the job description correctly? Was there something off in the job description? Did you feel like you didn't post it in the right place? Did you not do any of the interviewing? Did you leave it to HR to do all the interviewing and then you never met this human being until day one when they've already been hired? What was it about how you hired the person that you could turn up the dial on? Just there are 2 things that you can change so that you can get the right person in that role. Did you not listen to your gut?
I love it because I've said to leaders for a long time, you don't have an employee problem. You have a leadership problem. So there's 4 management disciplines. You either made a bad hire, you're not managing them well, you're not developing them, or you're retaining them when you shouldn't have retained them when they started to fail, because sometimes they do well for a while and then they fail, but you keep them and you keep hoping it's going to get better.
Yeah, it's not. The definition of insanity. I've had many an executive who have gone through 5, 6, 7 assistants in a year, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I say, okay, well, explain to me their first 10 days or their first 30 days. Oh, I don't know. We don't really have an onboarding program. And then they just get into my email, and I've had to push off a couple of meetings. I'm like, what? Go- Communicate. What can you do better? What can you do better? Not
Yeah.
what can they do better? What can you do better to be a better leader?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think looking inward is definitely the most valuable first step.
Yes.
I think the second step is what we've talked about before, is you really have to define the role well
Yes.
and the quality of person you're looking for based on the results you want to achieve.
Absolutely.
And when I use the term superstar, it goes throughout your organization.
Yes.
It really does. I mean,
Absolutely.
you're the queen of executive assistants, but we've all had experiences where whether it was somebody serving us a meal, whether it was somebody in any type of customer service environment, or that rare occasion in a healthcare environment where somebody's nice, where they're a superstar. I'm being sarcastic to a certain
Yeah.
extent, but 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 this thing where people just make the experience, and they also have to be, they're the one that achieves the results.
Absolutely.
So I think that's great. That was a surprise. You gave me a little curveball, but I love it. So
Good.
look internally first. If you want that superstar, what are you doing wrong?
Yeah.
And then how do you up your game and really define the role and the quality and those results that you want to define as success for the role. Great.
That's the most important part, is describing what does success look like for this human being. I'm sure you've run across this 1,000 times in your life where people are hiring department leaders, people managers, directors, someone who's on the top and is managing people, and they hire them because they're good at the job, not because they're good at managing people. And when you're hiring a leader, when you're hiring an executive who's going to manage human beings, there's more than just being good at the job. You have to be a good people manager. And that's a completely different skill set. If you're hiring a director of sales, yes, you need someone who understands sales, but you don't need the top seller, because guess what? They're going to want to be the top seller. They're not going to want to take care of their team. There's different skill sets that go along with that. So define what success is and have them fit that rather than the job.
No, I think that's a really good point to extend this into, and that is that exactly what you say is that this. I think of pro sports. So very few top athletes transition into being great coaches. Now, Steve Kerr with the Golden State Warriors did that. Now, was he ever an MVP? He was not an MVP. And who's the guy with the San Antonio Spurs? The guy who coaches them is Larry. I cannot remember, but he also was a superstar player and then is an awesome coach. And you talk about company values, super tight on the values, huge win record over the losses. And Kerr's been phenomenal with the Warriors, but that's rare.
Yeah.
That's the exception. And a lot of times, like you're indicating, you promote them into management, but you give them no training. There's no coaching and mentoring. You just think they'll know what to do. And then, of course, you have them hire. Yep. And they've never been trained on how to hire.
They've never been trained on
how to hire.
Yeah. As another sports metaphor, if you're looking for a quarterback, are you going to ask the kicker to apply? Are you going to ask the tight end to apply for the quarterback position? It's a different position. There are different skills needed. You probably wouldn't put the kicker in the quarterback position. So talk about the quarterback position, not that they need to be good at throwing a ball.
Monique, welcome back again. We're talking about hiring. And let's see, from your perspective, and you have great experience, what do you feel should be a leader's or a hiring team's number one objective when they're hiring?
I would say a unique perspective. I would say someone who can bring in the lessons that they've learned from other jobs that they've had, other institutions, other types of companies, to shake things up a bit, because maybe that's what you need. If you're hiring the same type of person for the same type of role over and over and over again, you're going to get the same results. You're going to get the quiet person who's the yes man. And maybe you want the yes man, maybe you don't. But if you're looking for, I hear executives say, we're looking to grow, we're looking to develop, we're looking to build this organization. And then they don't want any fresh perspectives, and they don't want anyone to come in and maybe tear down a few walls. If you're looking for growth and a new perspective, you're going to need someone who comes in and challenges the status quo. So again, if growth and building your organization is something that is foremost on your mind, then you need unique perspectives. You need different types of people, and make sure you have all the different types of people, all the different Myers-Briggs, all the different Clifton Strengths, all the different types of people. If you have the same type of people, you're going to get the same perspective.
I think it's great. It actually flows really well with mine, which is different, is that I advise people the most important thing is to save time. And what I mean is that too often your hiring tryouts start and you allow candidates to continue to proceed who you know earlier on or could have taken steps to earlier on identify they're not a match.
Absolutely.
But I love what you say, because as part of that, you really should be pushing for new perspective, new energy. I'll add that, new energy, because I remember years ago, I learned that you think of the mentor-mentee relationship and you think, oh, the mentor is putting all this time and they're not getting anything back from it. But actually, when it's a healthy relationship, the mentee brings that new perspective, like what you say. They bring new energy, new enthusiasm. Yeah. And a lot of times that mentor who's been in the company for a long time or been doing what they've been doing a long time, they get re-inspired. They get reconnected to some electricity points that work for them. So I love what you're saying. I think that that's a great primary. I do still lean towards mine of saving time because I've seen so many people waste time. But I think that's a great blend between the two.
Yeah. And on that note, a way to save time is to have 10 different types of people looking at the same problem and then talking about it around a round table and saying, well, this is how I see it, and this is how I see it, and this is how I see it. And then everyone coming together and going, you know what, that's the way we're going to go. So instead of trying 15 different things and spending a lot of time and energy and money on things that aren't going to work, have people that maybe don't know everything about what you're talking about come in and give their perspective. You have no idea what other people can offer.
Well, and the thing is that if you're open to that, like if you're setting up this hiring process, like you're bringing in somebody, they have a different perspective, you like certain attributes about them, and you've asked some difficult questions up front. Like I ask up front, one of my first questions is, what are your compensation needs? If they want to make 100 grand and my budget's 60, I'm wasting my time and I'm wasting theirs.
Absolutely.
Right? And I have some other ones like that, but a lot of people never even ask. Okay. They just make an offer, which is silly. But I love the idea of the new perspective or different perspective, but then you test it.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got a different perspective on this. So let's talk about this situation. What's your perspective? Well, you have a different one. Ours is this. See whether that person has the skill to find a compromise and read that body language. Are they truly bought in, or are they just on their first date, behavior here as they're interviewing? And will this person work out? Are they going to add to us and help us build? Or are they going to come in and get upset because they don't get their way often enough?
Yeah, absolutely. How would you come in and do things differently? It's a great question to ask. Because if somebody says, oh, I don't know what I would do, that's one type of person. And if you have someone who comes in and says, this is how I would change things, that's a different type of person, depending on what you're looking for. So all of this saves time, saves money.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Thanks for that one. It's a good one. Welcome back, Monique.
Hello.
This time in hiring, what I want to ask you, oh, queen of executive assistants, is if you had to only choose three questions that you would ask a candidate, what are the three questions you would ask and why?
The first question I ask is, why did you apply for this job? Because that answer dictates if I want to keep interviewing you or not. If you say, I like the location and I like the salary, I don't know if I'm going to keep interviewing you, to be perfectly honest. If that's why you are taking this job, then you are going to be more concerned with convenience and salary than you are with just about anything else. So that tells me if you read the job description. That, if you say, oh, well, I read in the second point there how you described this thing, tells me if you read the job description. It tells me a lot about who you are when I ask you, why did you act the way that you acted? So that's definitely my first question. I usually ask them, what do they love about being an executive assistant? What drew you to the profession? What keeps you in the profession? Because again, this is going to tell me a lot about you. Well, I like bossing people around. Okay, that's one way to go. Or you see their face light up. Oh, I love it when things come together and a plan comes together and my executive's on time. Like you can see what is lighting them up, what body language are they giving you when you ask them what they love about a particular job. And that's for anyone, not just an executive assistant. What do you love about being in sales? What do you love about marketing? And see where their eyes raise, see where the sides of their mouth crinkle. This is going to tell you a lot about who this person is.
That reminds me, Monique. Years ago, I worked for a company that was owned by a big corporate, 4,000 person company far away. And there was a guy in that company, in this huge company, this one little guy who would approve our expense reports. And I was warned, you're going to hate this guy. He's absolutely a Nazi on expense reports, blah, blah, blah. And somehow, I don't know how I found out, but I got the story on him that he went to his boss he was put in charge of, you will approve the expense reports. Okay. But they didn't give him the authority. So he would go back to people and he would say, I'm sorry, I can't reimburse this because you didn't follow this policy. And then he would get overruled. So he went to his boss and he said, I want to quit. I just don't like my job. And the boss said, well, what's the matter? It seems like a perfect fit. And he said, you give me these policies, but you don't give me the authority to enforce them. And so they just walk all over me and I don't like it. And the boss went, oh, I'm really sorry about that. Starting right now, you have the authority to enforce it. And the guy was incredible. I'm really organized on my expense reports. I don't know. I guess I worked for 2.5 years for that company. And every time my expense report was reviewed and paid via direct deposit by that guy within 2 days,
Wow.
I never had a problem.
Okay.
But it's just like what you said, the person wanted to have some authority that went along with the responsibility so they could feel like they're making some stuff happen.
Sure.
Yeah. Cool. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's quite all right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's, if you want to know why someone isn't performing well in their job, ask them. And you have to listen to their answer.
Yeah.
We can assume all day long why someone isn't happy in their job. They've got this, da, da, da. We don't know. Ask them. But you also then turn on the ears and actually listen and not fight them on what answer there is. If they say I don't have the authority, well, you don't need the authority. Like if you're going to argue back with me, then don't even ask the question.
Yeah, totally. Okay, what's the third question?
The third question is I usually ask them when they've made a mistake and how they've handled it. And I want to know specific examples. So either when have you, we all make mistakes when communicating with another human being. Tell me a time where you feel like you could have communicated with someone better and tell me the exact situation. Or tell me a time when you've made a mistake at work and how have you fixed it? Because you want someone who's vulnerable enough to talk about what happened and then be proud enough to tell you how they fixed it. That's really important in a lot of jobs.
So have you ever had somebody say, well, I really don't make mistakes?
Bye-bye. Everyone makes mistakes. We're human, we're messy, and we screw things up. You're never going to be perfect at anything. I want to know the really real story, and I want to know if you're self-aware enough to know when you screwed up.
Yeah.
Big about self-awareness too. So and how they talk about it, if they're saying, well, this person did this and then they did this and then they did this and then they did, and then that caused me to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Not terribly responsible or taking responsibility or for their actions. They're not accountable. So you can tell a lot by how they answer the when did you fall down question.
Awesome questions. Awesome questions. Everybody should give those a try. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Monique, great to talk with you again. I want to know this time, have you ever interviewed somebody who's really a good poser? I always say salespeople are the hardest to interview because they're naturally actors, okay? But have you ever had a poser who got past you for like part of the interview, you caught them later, or actually made it all the way through? You got a good story there that maybe you'll help our people be more aware?
Absolutely. Yes, I do. A lot of people are really good at lying and lying convincingly, especially when going on a first date or applying for a new job.
Yep.
You feel like you want to be the person who they're asking for, so you make yourself be that person when that's not really you. And unfortunately, that doesn't work on first dates, and it doesn't work on first interviews because people are going to find out that you don't know how to do the thing or that you are a different type of person. All this comes to light eventually. So yes, I've absolutely had someone. I had a position to fill where they didn't have any admins in their office yet. They were a small company becoming a medium-sized company, and they didn't really have anyone to be an admin yet. So I needed someone to come in and take a non-structured organization and make some structure out of it, make some policies, make some procedures. But slowly, you can't go like gangbusters into an organization that's never had an admin and say, this is how I want to do everything, and we're changing everything. And you have to tiptoe into those waters a little bit. And she was very good at convincing me that she was okay with lack of structure, and she loved creating new processes and procedures. And unfortunately, my mistake, because I always want to know what I did wrong, is I didn't ask her for an example. I trusted her that she knew how to do this when she didn't. And she did not last very long because she couldn't handle the lack of structure. She couldn't handle that nobody knew what it was that she did. Being an executive assistant or an admin, it's a strange job. Nobody really knows what you do besides you and maybe your executive. So you can't go in gangbusters into an organization and want to change everything head to toe. And that happened. So that was an oopsie on my part.
I've been there, done that. So, and much
How about you?
So,
When has somebody fooled you?
I think the worst failure was at a company that had big funding, lost the funding. Guy walked through the door, said he could solve all my problems. The problem wasn't him. The problem was me. He said what I wanted to hear, that I could continue pursuing this dream, which I should not. I should walk away. And he was just he was incapable. He was in over his head, and I was.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why a major part of the reason that now with my clients and on our own, we never hire anyone without doing what we call workouts or scrimmages. We kind of use the pro sports team metaphor.
Sure.
We used to call them test drives. So we put them through, like you talked about, some scenarios. You test them. So here's a scenario. How do you think? But then we also have them do at least a piece of work, do some writing. Yeah. We teach them something, see if they can do it. Even a simple thing, like if I'm interviewing somebody and they're too verbose, they're talking on and on, I'll say, hey, we have a limited amount of time. Would you please be more succinct? If they keep talking on and on, that's a yellow flag. If not a red flag, you're out of the game. Ejection. Absolutely. So it did not go well. The company went from a .com to a .bomb, and was a wipeout. And I can't really blame him, like you brought up. I shouldn't have said yes. He shouldn't have, but I can't blame him. I shouldn't have said yes. I shouldn't have said yes to things he did once he was on the team. Yeah. And it was bad, but I don't think I've made a hiring mistake in a long time. So fortunately.
Once you get good at it, when you know how, this is a skill set to hire someone. That's why there's entire companies that are recruiters that do things like this. This is a specific skill set to have. So you have to know how to do it in order to do it well. So make sure that you're either leaning on the right people in your organization to help you with the hiring process, or you hire an expert on the outside to help guide you.
Oh, yeah.
Or at the very least, look at other job descriptions that are describing the type of person that you want and see what you like about those job descriptions.
Yeah, but no, I'm sorry. I have to interrupt and take issue. So if I'm going to hire an executive assistant, and you haven't paid me to say this, I would definitely put the money in to hire you because you really know it backwards and forwards, particularly if I've never had one or I've
Exactly.
had one that didn't work out very well. It's
Exactly.
like, think of the cost. I'm paying that person every month. And now if I really have a superstar executive assistant, what's the pay range they're making?
I agree.
Tell me.
I mean, it can be anywhere from 60,000 to 250,000, depending
There
on
you
the.
go. Yeah. So look at that. So if I'm paying that type of money, that money burns really fast when I have the wrong person in the job, and the money that I'm going to pay you to help me structure it and evaluate the person. And I like to say there's two things you have to do when you hire. Number one is you have to do those workouts and scrimmages, okay? Scenarios, and then some type of actual work. And it might just be, hey, here's the problem we got. How would you solve that?
Absolutely.
My clients do that. And then the second thing is you got to do a thorough background check.
Yeah.
And as an executive assistant, I would think you're recommending the same thing. And by the way, I recommend, I have a real specific list, but my list includes a civil court check. Now, in some states, you cannot make a decision based on a civil court check. But if they're suing their neighbor or their past employer or vice versa, I think you want to know that.
Absolutely. Tells you what kind of human they are, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Hire an expert, not just because it's something that I do, but having someone, especially these unique types of positions that can go in a lot of different directions. HR can be a lot of different things. It could strictly be paperwork, onboarding, contracts, and that sort of thing. HR can also be, I throw the holiday parties and I know everyone's birthday and I'm the culture keeper. What type of HR are you looking for? Hire an expert who understands how to describe the thing that you're looking for.
Yeah. And the expert also, if they don't have a big ego, okay, sure. But the expert, and I know you're this way, and I know I'm this way humbly, is our objective is to find the best, and we don't have a bias.
Absolutely.
Too often the person's bias, and that was where I made my mistake, was, I just wanted to fill the seat. I wanted to get the thing done. And you're looking over things that you need someone else to catch. And that's why I have clients that hire me every month to interview somebody and check them out just because they want to know, okay, what does Dave think? And it's so yeah. So I think that's, we have to talk about those mistakes and what we learn from them, because hiring is so important. It's the start of this relationship, start of a new season, and you want that season to be a good one for both you and the person you're hiring.
Absolutely. I always say if what you put into it, that's what you're going to get out of it. And especially in hiring, if you are lackadaisical about how you're hiring and who you're hiring, and it's just to get butts in seats, then you can't complain when you have a butt in the seat that's not the right butt. If you spend time and energy on bringing forth and searching for the right person, you will get someone who will work for you for 10 or 20 years. But you're going to, same thing with a relationship, you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Great. Thank you, Monique. Wonderful as always.
Thank you so much.